Thomas M. Copeland, Big Break Pod. Stick with us today. We've got a great guest for you, Wendy Alane Wright, on the business of acting for young actors and aspiring actors. This is a great episode. If that's you, stick around. Hey, Thomas M. Copeland, creator, Big Break Pod. And today we have a guest with us. Can you believe it? Yes, another guest on this season one episode. Today's guest is Wendy Alane Wright. And Wendy is the creator and founder of a very large Facebook group called Talent Manager for Actors, or TMFA. This group, if you haven't seen it before, is a Facebook group like 100,000 plus members strong. It is a gigantic group, probably the biggest, if not the biggest, Facebook group for actors that I've seen. So it's a wonderful community. She's head of the community. She's also a talent manager in Hollywood and also an author. She's written some really fantastic books as well for really new actors, aspiring actors, and what I call baby actors. You may hear me say that throughout this episode with Wendy, and she liked that. She liked that that moniker as well. When we talk about baby actors, we really talk about that as a euphemism, and it comes from a place of endearment because Wendy really dedicates her life and she dedicates her love for young actors. When I say young actors, I don't mean young in age. I just mean new actors, actors who aspiring actors or people who want to become actors. She's really dedicated her whole life to, kind of putting sort of the quote-unquote secrets or tips and tricks and the things that you need to understand before you really embark on this sort of choice of life, this sort of life choice that is, choosing to be an actor or trying to be an actor. And so that's what this episode is really all about, and that's what my interview with Wendy is all about, because that's really what TMFA is all about. I found TMFA a number of years ago when I was sort of just kind of thinking about getting back into acting on or about 2019, 2020. I started to kind of get back on the stage for the first time since high school after about 15 years. And, so I started, as we naturally do, started clicking around, looking around, searching around, and I came across TMFA pretty quickly because it is just such a gigantic group. And really it's a group where we have, what I'm going to call sort of the members, kind of the students, right? Like me and you. Who are there. And then she also has been really conscious to build this group such that the moderators of the Facebook group specifically, I think she says it in the interview, I think she says something like 30 or something, of these are professional actors, these are professional casting directors, these are professional directors, these are professional talent managers, these are professional people who work in the industry that we look to work in Hollywood, in Atlanta, in New York, and other major markets. And she's really done a great job of building up this network of moderators who are people who can actually answer questions for you, and it can actually give you tips on how to embark on this career. Now, I'm kind of hesitant on calling it a career because I think it's my personal opinion that it takes a really long time before you can call your sort of, I'm going to call it a, sort of a hobby or a sort of a passion or sort of a craft. It takes a really long time before you can call it a career. In my own personal and humble opinion, there may be folks out there that disagree, and that's great. I'd love to hear from you if you disagree, in fact. But for me, it takes a really long time to call this a career. In fact, it actually took me a really long time to call myself an actor, interestingly enough. And the reason is because this life choice, this choice of being an actor or an actress, is something that takes a lot of years to perfect and get right and build. It was a famous acting coach and teacher, Sanford Meisner of the Neighborhood Playhouse, who says, famously, he said that it takes 20 years to become an actor. And you know what? I don't disagree with that. In fact, I can't disagree with that. I completely buy into that. I think he knows a thing or two after teaching acting for 50 years at the Neighborhood Playhouse, teaching some of, the world's most famous actors and actresses coming out of the Neighborhood Playhouse. I think he's onto something, and I think we should listen to that, and I think we should really sort of observe that and internalize that and honor that it takes 20 years to become an actor. It's true. I mean, I would have been a very different actor coming out of high school and sticking with it than I would have been today, or that I am today at 39. And the reason is because at 18 years old, when you graduate, really all you have at that point, for the most part, for most of us, is you kind of may only have like sort of natural talent or natural gift. It's kind of a raw kind of a natural talent. Maybe you might have that. But what you don't have is you don't have life experience. You don't have experience as a business or entrepreneur. You don't have experience in finances. You don't have experience in working with, sort of agents and sort of the show business, the kind of business side of show business. You probably don't have any experience in working with media or publicity. You don't have any experience on majors. So you really don't have any of the things that you need to have a career in acting. You don't have any of that. You might just have talent because you might have just done some school plays or whatever, or you might have gone to college and undergraduate and had an undergraduate degree in theater. So you've had a sort of institutional sort of education of acting, right? But you still don't have any of those other pieces. Those other pieces come with time. And I'll tell you the most important thing that you won't have until you experience it is, loss of love, loss of life, right? Losing somebody close to you, going through going through trauma, right? Having the life experience of, moving out on your own and living out on your own. Just having the life experience of being in your 20s and then in your 30s and then in your 40s. Because I will tell you, my 30s were completely different from my 20s. My 20s were a time of sort of just like experimentation and kind of just, screwing around, right? And like kind of a sort of a loss of general direction and kind of what I wanted to do. And it really wasn't until I was 25 that I decided I wanted to finish my undergraduate degree and I wanted to sort of take my life more seriously. I had been, arrested a number of times. I really did some dumb shit that got me into a lot of trouble. And it took me a really long time to figure out that like, that was not the life I wanted to live. And, so the experience of being in jail is an experience, right? And you need experiences to be a truly transcending actor, to truly master and hone and own your craft. You need those experiences. Now, I do not suggest going out there and getting arrested. I'm not a fan of that. In fact, I can tell you from personal experience, it's a terrible thing. Don't do it. But, if there's a bright side of it, the bright side of it is that it built character for me. And it built an experience in me, and it built a muscle memory and a particular memory that like I can tap into in the future, right? And so that's what Sanford Meisner and many other actors really talk about. That's what Lee Strasberg talks about, Stella Adler, like all these famous world-renowned acting coaches and teachers, and really all the acting teachers that run studios today are all sort of byproducts, really honestly, of Meisner and the method and all those people. And really what they all said, and they all said it in different ways with varying degrees of difference, but what they all sort of said at their core is that like you need experience in order to truly tap and be an authentic actor. And so where am I going with all this? Where I'm going with all of this is that you, my baby actors out there, or baby actors out there, if you're 18 or 20 or 22 and you're saying, I want to be an actor, that's really wonderful. But understand that like it is going to be years before you may truly be a working actor. And you will only be a true working actor when you've had experience under your belt, when you've had experience on set, when you've had actor training, when you get all your ducks in a row, when you've been financially successful or at least financially stable in some other career, right, to kind of fund your creative passion, because that takes funding, it takes money, it takes time. And so really we talk about this and so many other things in this interview today. This interview is really with Wendy Alane Wright. She's really fantastic at working with and sort of dispelling the myths and the scams and the watch out for this and the do this and do that for really the baby actors. But for those out there who don't consider themselves to be baby actors, who do have experience, who do have a resume, they do have experience on set, I hope that this conversation up to this point and sort of my observations have been helpful for you too. And stick around because maybe you'll gain something out of this interview as well. But this interview is really fantastic for those who have ever thought about or have ambitions of being an actor or wanting to be an actor. This interview is really for you. Stick around while we talk to Wendy Alane Wright from Talent Managers for Actors. She's a talent manager and acting coach and author who runs the TMFA Facebook group. This is going to be a great conversation. Stick around in about 60 seconds. We'll be right back.
If you're an actor serious about your craft, then you know you're serious about improving your read, your presentation, and your on-camera delivery. And there's no faster way to sharpen your skills than with detailed collaborative feedback from your fellow actors, directors, casting directors, coaches, and other creative professionals in the industry. So, how do you get in front of the people you need to impress? With Show Coach. Available for Apple and Android, this exciting app gives you a stage to showcase your work, including self-tapes, reels, and monologues, specifically to solicit feedback from the professionals who can hire you. And for a limited time, Show Coach is absolutely free to use. Industry professionals can apply to become a coach and earn money for critiquing student posts. Download the app as a student or coach from your mobile app store or visit showcoach.app. That's showcoach.app to learn more. Show Coach, artists encouraging greatness.
All right, welcome. Our guest today is Wendy Alane Wright. Wendy, thank you so much for being here. Wendy, for those who don't know, is the founder and creator of TMFA, that's Talent Manager for Actor Group on Facebook. It has like hundreds of thousands, I think over 100,000 people at this point. Is that right?
I think it's at 120,000 people now. Can you believe it?
That's right. Also, she's an author and acting coach at Hollywood Winner's Circle, which you can find online too. So today, we're going to chat. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking some time out.
It's a pleasure. I'm grateful to talk to actors anytime. Thank you for having me.
That's right. So my history with TMFA, I have to say, was a few years ago. I found it. I think I was just kind of starting. I do talk in the podcast about kind of my history. I won't bore you with it. But in 2019, I kind of got back on stage after many years long hiatus. And so I just started looking as actors who are getting into it naturally do, what I call the baby actors, right? I did all the things that baby actors naturally do, which I was on Reddit and I was on Facebook and I was listening to this and that, reading books. And anyway, I did come across TMFA, and I thought what was so unique about TMFA is that there's so much time that you and other coaches put into it. Like truly, this is not a shill. Truly, there are specific days in which, for example, Monologue Mondays, actors can put up monologues, and you see a deluge of comments from working actors and coaches who actually engage. So that's what was so unique and attractive to me about TMFA. So tell us about TMFA from your perspective too, and sort of what you've always loved about it and why it stands out as a great group.
I really love TMFA at first. So for those of you who are maybe not familiar with Talent Managers for Actors, it is a free platform, a free website where actors can be a part of a community where they can ask questions 24/7, 365 days a year. And that was important to me, that there be a place that actors could get honest information about how to proceed in this crazy business, and not the guessings from people who don't know. But like, really, you're a working actor. What did you do? What do I need to do? And I know that Hollywood is the kind of place where there's never been a central location like a law school or a med school. It's like, I want to be an actor. Well, then go to da-da-da. So I wanted to create that. And I only wanted agents, managers, casting directors, and working actors from TV and film to be allowed to answer questions.
Yeah.
So that was, we had to train the community to know that took some work, but to train the community that this is not a free for all, this group. Everybody's not just allowed to throw in their 2 cents. This is, if you want facts to the best of our ability, that's what we're going to give you.
Yeah.
And then there's this, so we've been there since 2017. So can you imagine, there's 120,000 actors, like you said. Can you imagine the search bar? If you search any topic whatsoever under the sun, I can promise you'll find an answer about it. And if it's not there and you ask a question, any of us are going to know. There's probably 25 moderators that work full-time in the platform. Yeah,
that's the unique thing about it, is just the quality of the moderators. And that's also, because, Reddit's great, but it is like that free for all. I mean, it's a total free for all. Anyway, I mean, I answer things on Reddit, and I am not qualified to answer lots of things on Reddit. So it is kind of a free for all out there. I love that you've kind of created a curated place, right?
Yeah.
Where we can get trusted information. How did you come up with the idea of creating TMFA? When did that all kind of come about? You said 2017. Was it that literally it was just missing and it needed to be in existence?
It needed to exist.
Yeah.
And then that's when we talked off camera before, you talked to me about, when I became a coach, this, that, and the other. I've been coaching for a long, long time. I've been teaching acting for many, many years. I love teaching acting. I used to have a school in Arizona, and I taught in the GATE program in La Cañada High School and all the middle schools. And I used to do a volunteer acting program for the community center of La Cañada. I mean, when I was managing, I still was always teaching. I love teaching. And when I came up with the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel also has about 120,000 people on it. It was because people would submit to me for representation as a manager, and I'd have to turn down 99% of them because literally the submissions are poorly written, the headshots are not professional, their clips will not sell them in the business, they're not competitive. They don't understand the business in the slightest. And so how are you going to be in show business if you don't even understand the business? And so it's just a no. And I'm madly in love with actors and creatives, like yourself. I'm just, oh my God, I just love you people so much. And I can't just tell an actor no without explaining what they could do to make it a yes.
Got it.
I can't live with that. So I created the YouTube channel to just get on the camera every day and say, this is what don't do this and don't do this, and just please don't do any of this. That's not going to work. Do this instead, and you're going to have a much better chance to succeed. So goodbye, have a great day. And like 600 videos later. But underneath all of those videos are questions. Cool. What about this? And I was like, I don't have time to answer all these questions myself. So that's when I said, TMFA, I got to create a platform where actors can come and they can ask the questions there. And then I can call all my friends who are agents and managers and say, could you just volunteer your time? Like, just pop in there once a week. And if you see a question, you want to answer it, just do that, please. And they were like, Wendy, sure. So we had 150 agents and managers. Wow. In the beginning, who used to go in and answer questions all the time. And then you know what happened? These actors screwed it up for themselves.
Of course we did. I
had to start getting other moderators, because every time an agent would post the answer, an actor would go, are you sure? Because I read somewhere that blah, blah, blah is really what it is. And then the agent would DM me and say, Wendy, if I'm going to take the time to stop in the TMFA and answer questions, they can't be argued. So that was an issue in the first few years, that's why we had to really hone down on that rule. Don't answer questions, because you're just telling the agents that you aren't here to learn. Yeah, sure. Yeah, totally. That's interesting. They kind of got a hold of that. They don't do that so much anymore. Yeah. That's really interesting. So I see the love you have for actors. By the way, I saw it in TMFA, of course, and I see it now. And I have to say too, I've met so many casting directors who love actors too. What is it in the water with you people that you love actors? We are conceited. We are annoying. No, I'm kidding. I don't think we're any of those things. But really, I mean, what is it about actors that you've always really loved? What attracts you to coaching actors? And maybe it's the joy of seeing a baby actor just take a step or two. I mean, could that be it? Could it be as simple as that? Well, there's a lot of things. That's such a good question, I swear to God. So most casting directors and acting coaches or agents and managers were actors at some point. And absolutely love the art, the craft of acting. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I could sit and listen to people talk about acting every day of my life, the rest of my life, all day, 48 hours a day. I freaking can't get a bit. There's nothing else I'd rather talk about. But they're also the most misguided people. And the craft that they have is such a gift. Do you know what I mean? There's something incredibly powerful about sitting in a movie theater with a whole bunch of strangers in the dark and watching an actor tell a story that takes you so deeply inside yourself as a person and makes you feel all the things about being a human being. I mean, I just could cry. I just love it so freaking much. And I remember when I was watching the movie Powder one day, at the end of that movie, the entire audience was completely still. Nobody got up and left. You know how people just get up and leave? Nobody could move because the movie was so impactful. It was so powerful. what those artists were able to do. And that's just never ceased to amaze me.
Mm.
So that's why I became a manager and an agent, because I want to give those people, like, get the heck out, like, fly, beautiful, creative, fly. But I think what you said, there are some downfalls about actors. Actors are, first of all, they have big egos, which they have to, but they also have tremendous self-esteem issues.
Yeah.
So it goes like huge ego, but am I good enough? I think I'm a star, but how do I know they like me? You know, and they also have zero training in the business. When they come out of, they have an MFA in theater, but don't know how to write a cover letter, don't know what Actors Access is, casting networks, don't know how to build relationships, don't know how to network. Don't know anything. So you can be the most talented person in the world, but if you don't know how to navigate the business, you won't have a career.
Yeah, that's right. Have you seen some very promising actors in your entire career? Have you seen what looked to be very promising actors fall short because of exactly that? They just could not figure out the business, and then so it just sort of falters out, and they didn't give it enough time. I mean, I think that's an interesting concept. If you've actually seen that yourself, you've seen actors have opportunities, and they've got it if they just understand the importance of conducting yourself as a professional on and off set, right?
God, yeah. And I mean, you asked me, have I ever seen it? It's 95% of the time. It's that big a number that you could, people come off the bus in Indiana and they're like, I'm going to be an actor. I'm here. Hello, everybody. I'm here. And, but I don't have a clue what I'm supposed to say to agents and managers. How do I know what's right for me? How do I know when I should get signed? Where should I be taking acting classes? What kind of training do I need? What kind of actor am I? I thought I could play everything. No, you can't. How long do I stay with my agent? When should I leave? How do I know is my self-tape good? Is my self-tape at the level that it would actually get a call back? And an actor has to be really honest about that. Like, first of all, an actor has to be open to real feedback. And you can't be a wuss about it. Like, if someone says to you, that is not ready, and it's not because someone's trying to hurt you, it's because if you really want to get in the door and compete with people who are already on TV, and your work has to be as good.
That's right.
And so if you don't realize that your work is not as good yet, and you can't take that humbly, it's okay, it's not as good. What do I got to do? Keep training, get better, get stronger, train with better people, work harder, break down more scenes, turn yourself around on tape, give yourself an audition every day as if it's due tomorrow at 12 noon, even if you don't have an audition. Train like you're an Olympic athlete now, so you're ready when those opportunities come. And that's where most actors fail. They don't train like an Olympic athlete because they don't realize TV is the Olympics of entertainment business. It's like, you book a pilot, they pay you $30,000 to shoot it. They're not giving that money to nobody, just anybody.
Right.
And if you book the pilot and it gets picked up and you get paid $60,000 an episode, that's not chump change. You got 10 episodes and you got $60,000. That's right. Then you got to play good,
Yeah. And likely you just came into that money for the first time. You've likely never seen money like that before as well. If you're not coming from a place of a family who's already in it, for example. But if you're truly coming into it,
that's the first time they've ever seen it. And sometimes they just want to blow it. That's another part of what you need to learn, is that when you make that kind of money, you hang on to it. You don't spend it. You don't, buy yourself a nice, whatever, one thing, but you have to put the rest of it in like an S&P 500 or something and put some of it away, because you never know when you're going to make more money again as an actor.
An index fund and a brokerage, and never look at it. Open up a brokerage 100%. Account, stick it in an S&P 500 index, and never look at it again. Do not open that app up for 10 years. Just don't even bother with it.
And if you're lucky to start that early enough, I teach a finance class about that, because I just love the whole, I teach actors a class about how to take that money and invest it, but also I teach them how to make multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
And earn it from lots of different sources, and to create passive income using lots of different sources. Because I think that one of the biggest complaints actors have is, I can't afford this career. Like, they don't realize it's a business, right? You have to pay for Actors Access, casting networks, business courses, headshots, the platforms, IMDb, acting classes, commercial, on camera, scene study, improv. It's like,
It's like head spinning,
a
right?
lot of money.
Yeah, it's head spinning. Not to mention that you've got to be able to have a flexible enough job and income coming in so that you can respond to that self-tape that comes in. And you can go ahead and say yes to, hey, are you available? Or the pin on this date. Or, hey, we're thinking about the shoot on these dates in the future. You got to be able to say yes. This is really interesting. I didn't know the conversation was going to go this way, but if you'll allow me, this lines right up with me because so I talk a lot on this podcast about how I am an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur first and foremost. I've owned companies for many years, many different companies, mostly in the background of being software and marketing. And the whole point of this podcast is I finally got to the point where I did have enough money saved up, and I do have savings, and I do have the ability, for example, to move to New York City, which is what I'm in the middle of doing right now. And I understand, I don't want to sound like privileged with that because I'm not privileged. I worked my ass off for the last 20 years to be able to build businesses. But there's this sort of side of me that's an entrepreneur that has an intuitive understanding of how to conceptually think about an idea and turn it into a business, generate some revenue, build some customers, do some basic marketing, get a website up, right? Do all those steps.
Yeah.
All those steps are all the same steps an actor has to do in their acting career, but they're steps that are taught. They are not intuitively. You don't wake up an entrepreneur. You learn it over time, and if you're lucky enough, you'll maybe have had a business partner or maybe a mentor or something like that where you could have learned all this stuff. But the truth is, all those skills I just described, I learned those over 20 years of building and running companies, right? So it's an interesting point of really shining a light on and waking our baby actors up that not only all those things that Wendy just said you've got to pay for, but the fact is it's really difficult to have a full-time or even part-time job and also still do this. What do you say to, actors who are trying to maybe, and don't give away your secrets maybe, but what do you say to actors who are kind of trying to move away from maybe a full-time job that they have, and they're trying to move into being able to be more flexible and do this? I know that there's a million gigs out there and not all of them are created equal. Not all of them are great. I'm sure there's good ideas of Uber driving or Amazon driving over here, but I'm curious if what do you say to, what are some of the things that you might suggest or say to an actor who's thinking about it for the first time of walking away from a full-time job? Because you almost have to do it, do you not?
I like that question. I think that if you're brand new, and I like how you call them baby actors.
Yeah, our baby actors out there.
The baby steps.
That's right.
Yeah, they're baby actors. Those are my favorite people. They're the most they have those wide eyes and they have these big dreams and they have so much creativity and they're ready to go and now they just need to not lose.
See the reality yet. That's right.
The industry has to not smash it out of them, for God's sake. I like to protect them. But I tell actors, if you have a family and you have children or you're married and you have a house payment and whatever, you can't just quit your job and go be an actor. You gotta. If you're 21, go ahead. Mm-hmm. But if you've got responsibilities and a family, you've got to first figure out how to create some income. And most actors don't pay all of their bills from acting. Most actors, even if they're on a TV series, they have other forms of income. So that could be teaching, coaching, audition coaching. I remember an actor used to drive a limousine because that was kind of flexible. He could still do his auditions. I was on TV all the time.
Yeah.
I'd say you have to get so busy acting that it's requiring you now to have to shift your job.
I see.
It's oh my God, I've taken off all my sick days this year. I can't get any more, or I've taken off all my vacation work. And now the acting is causing me, I have to act more and I don't have anywhere else to get that leverage to go do it. So now you might have to quit your job and get two streams of income from other things. But I'd also say, try to get a second stream of income before you need it, right? And start saving and putting money away so that when you do make that transition, it won't be rough.
Yeah.
Right. I always tell actors, don't try to get into this business without at least 10, 15 grand in savings. You can.
At least, yeah. Yeah. Right. Can't move to New York on that. I know firsthand. You're not moving to New York on 10.
Gotta be gone in a month, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think also, like you said, being an entrepreneur being an actor is all about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You got to have that. I can get myself up in the morning. And like you said, you came from a marketing background.
Yep.
Actors today have to wear a marketing hat, a publicity hat.
Yep.
They have to manage their own. They have to understand how to be productive. They have to create their goals set timelines to them, and force themselves to get that done.
Yeah.
And then they have to market what they do and promote it. And then they have to network and stay in touch with all the people they build relationships with. And people, for whatever reason, don't realize, well, if they haven't taken business classes, they wouldn't know that this is really 90% business.
Yeah. Yep.
10% show, right? 10%
Totally.
show.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. So it's a really natural progression for a working actor to look into coaching, to look into audition coaching. What makes a good audition coach? I'm curious from your perspective, Wendy. What makes a good audition coach? Is it enough to be a good working actor, or is there more to it?
As a manager, my job is to know who the good audition coaches are, because obviously my clients aren't gonna book anything if they don't know how to audition.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only interested in curating a list of the best audition coaches I can, because I want to make sure my clients get the best training so that they have the highest opportunity to book.
Yep.
So over the years, I have the wisdom of knowing who those coaches are, and I always recommend Margie Haber, Amy Linden, James Ciccone, Andy Matheny, Kenzo Lee, Tony Robinette, Alex Collins, people like that, who have.
By the way,
record.
many spread around the country, right? Those aren't all LA. I think I heard you say Alex. Yeah, okay.
They're all over the country. They're in LA. They're in New York. They're all over. Jim Doherty, he's in, I think, I want to say, Indianapolis. So being a good actor doesn't necessarily make you a great coach, but like you said, there are many great coaches who are working actors.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite coaches, he teaches acting one-on-one. His name is Rod Rowland. Mm-hmm. That guy has been working for 30 years.
Yeah.
There's something amazing about an actor that's got 40 television credits, or 100 television credits, which means not only did he audition for it, but he booked it.
Yeah, right.
And that means he had to book it out of hundreds of other people.
That's right. And also lived through an industry that changed probably about 9 times through that time as well. I mean, if you're saying 30 years, the industry has probably changed 9 different times in 30 years. That's right.
You're so smart. I mean, that's true. And he's gone through every decade, 4 decades, 4 decades, right. And he's been booking year after year after year after year. Well, then I want to know what he knows.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And there's another woman named Judy Kane who coaches for commercials. She's booked 400 commercials.
Wow.
And she runs a school called Keep It Real Acting. Mm-hmm. So if I want my actors to be in commercials, I'm going to send them to a woman who's booked 400.
Yeah.
I mean, who else better to teach you how to book than someone who knows how to book?
No question. Longevity and track record. I mean, that's the qualifications right there.
I think you're right.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, are you still a manager? Are you managing today? You have a book of business today. How's and I know you're in LA. How's LA looking these days for yourself from a manager perspective? I see it from the outside because I'm in Florida, so I don't see it. But I have friends in LA. My brother's in LA. I'm curious to sort of how the business of managing and how you sort of seen your working actor clients sort of navigate this kind of new landscape with streaming that's been, sort of new structures, new incentives, shifting of incentives for what studios and productions are looking at. I'm curious sort of how you and your working actor clients have kind of been shifting and adapting to that. And maybe there's some bright spots looking ahead into the future that you guys are excited about.
No.
I was trying to give you something there I was trying to slide a little something under the table for, hey, is there something good happening? I guess, yeah.
Listen, it's a really rough time.
Yeah.
It's a really, really rough time in the business. I mean, to be honest, and I'm always honest, I can't help it, but I was talking to the president of an agency for many, many years, and he said to me, Wendy, I think, I don't know why you spend your time, this is going to sound terrible, but you want the truth. So
yeah, hit us with the truth. That's what we're here for.
Your time trying to help actors get into this business is a bunch of shit right now. I was like, oh God, what do you mean? He's like, there's hardly the amount of work. It's rough for everybody.
Yeah.
The writer's strike took such a massive toll. Everybody's way behind. A producer contacted me this morning and he was like, it's the hardest it's ever been in the indie film world. I was having dinner with a manager last night. She said it's just so difficult getting her actors work. And I thought, okay, well, you know what? If we're going through a dry spell or a difficult time, I mean, obviously it's going to pass. Nothing's forever. This, we're all on a down slope right now. It's going to go back up. And whenever we're on a down slope, that's when I tell actors, dig deeper into your training. That's the time to really start mastering different techniques, to go to Hagen, go to Stella Adler, go to a different technique, shirt lift, and master something else. Learn a new language, start mastering some dialects, and produce your own content. You definitely use things like YouTube or TikTok or Instagram to make some money, to hone some of your other skills. It will turn around. I think the biggest concern actors and reps have right now is AI.
Yeah.
It's really rough. I mean, I live on the Chat GPT. GPT.
You got it, Chat GPT. That's exactly right. But can you say what GPT stands for? No, I'm kidding. I won't make you do that.
I can't.
Generative Pretext Transformer, everybody. It's a
what is it called again?
Generative Pretext Transformer. It's a fancy way of saying we're going to guess what's going to happen next. It's literally a guessing statistical machine. Look at me getting all nerdy. I'm sorry. Please keep going. So,
honey, I love it. That's Chat GPT is my life right now.
Hey,
I mean, I can write
you.
entire video scripts, and one of the things I would tell actors to do is go to Chat GPT if you want to figure out how to get your footage, because I know getting footage is difficult for actors. Go to Chat GPT and write in, can you write me a script, a 1-minute script, where I play a corrupt police officer, and I do this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I want this police officer to have this tone and this kind of thing, and generate that kind of, there's a script.
Yep, totally.
There's no copyright to
it's even formatted. It's even formatted correctly as a script. It's even formatted. Yeah, it's brilliant. Look, I'm with you. I was a very early adopter of ChatGPT right away, because as a software designer, there was a time when if we had to write a privacy policy for an app, I would go use the privacy policy for the last app I wrote, which might be very different, and I'd have to spend an hour and a half or 2 or 3 hours rewriting it. You can write a privacy policy in 16 minutes with ChatGPT. That is factually better, probably legally more binding, and probably legally safer, right? So anyway, I'm with you. It's a fascinating thing. I think that since we're on the topic, I know everybody is scared of AI, and I do think that there's ways to put limitations. Now, I'm no union representative. Let me just be clear about that.
Yeah.
But I think that there's ways, from an observer. I think that there's things that GPT, GPT in general, generative AI in general, can do well and maybe shouldn't do, right? There's it depends on what you're talking about, because there's a scale there. There was a story, I don't know if it's true or not, and now I'm dealing in rumors, but there was a story about certain studios, not making gigantic multi-billion-dollar investment into new studio space because they've seen what generative AI can do in creating backgrounds and creating sets, right?
It's amazing.
It's incredible, right?
And the fear is that AI is going to replace voiceovers. Right. Audiobooks,
right,
commercials,
right,
cartoons, video games. I mean, it already is.
Totally. And I think we're worried about, I think I've heard that the worry, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think I've heard that the worry is that AI can imitate certain actors and imitate personalities, right? And that is clearly, I think it's a clear case that we shouldn't be doing that. But I think the bigger worry for actors is AI will be so powerful and is so powerful that it can create new characters that don't infringe on anybody, and it's just new characters, and they don't need us anymore. I think that's the bigger concern when I think about generative AI and I think about the future and I think about me as an actor. That's what I would be worried about. That is what I
think you're right. No one's really worried about replacing Tom Cruise and putting in a movie. That's just ridiculous. But some of these AI figures look so believable. You almost can't tell anymore. It's getting better and better. And believe me, if it's this good now, in 2-3 years, it's going to be ridiculous. Yeah. So that means, and since studios have already proven, in my opinion, that they've already proven that they will be as greedy as they want to be, that they want to pay actors as little as they can. For commercials, they make everything non-union, and companies are just wanting to I want your thing in perpetuity, and we're willing to take your work but not really pay you for it. If that's their mentality now, imagine when the AI can do so much of what actors were doing, or all the rest of the crew and it's like replacing digital art. I don't even want to get into that, but I have to believe that like I said in the beginning of this, the beauty of this art is the ability we have to affect each other on our emotional life, in our humanity, and on our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't foresee that being able to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's something special humans do to each other. So I think there'll always be a place for human storytelling.
I think that's great. I think that's a good thing we can all hang our hats on and go with it. And not incidentally, I am going to New York City to hopefully work in Broadway and theater where they can replace me. Sorry guys, you can't take me off the stage. I mean, you can make a CG AI Tom, I guess, but
That's right. They cannot replace you on the stage.
Can't replace me on stage.
We saw Natalie Cole put her daddy on the stage and sing Unforgettable with him, and that was a beautiful moment. But we're not going to concerts to watch AI digital people in place of musicians or in place of real artists. And the theater is not going to die. I mean, that's exactly where actors will always go to live. And I think people will still always enjoy the real writings from a human being that comes through a person. So I don't think the industry is going to end, but I think it's been very, very, very difficult. And if actors, I think you can't quit no matter what. You just have to keep going and find your place. And I think you have to nurture your ideas and become a filmmaker. A lot of actors are becoming filmmakers.
Yeah.
Where you can tell your own stories and nobody's replacing you, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think that makes a lot of sense. What are some of the biggest pitfalls that you see our baby actors make? I actually have one, if I can throw one out there. I hope I don't take your thunder, but my biggest one is the scams, man. They are everywhere, and they're getting really clever. I mean, some of the scams are getting clever. You've got the dumb scam where it's like, you know, casting this Saturday, come pay us $50. Like, okay. Don't pay money. That's the easiest thing we can teach about scams. But some of them are actually getting, you know, even more clever where they're almost like, you know, studios and classes. And I mean, I could just say that, like, you can Google acting online classes and you will find 1,000 of them. And it doesn't mean that 1,000 of them are any good. So I'm curious. I'd imagine scams is probably a big one that you like to focus on a lot. Is that true?
Yeah, I hate when actors get taken advantage of. I guess hate it with my soul. And that's another reason why at the TMFA, Talent Managers for Actors Facebook group, you know, you could go in there and type anything. I'm being asked this. Is this legit? And then we're going to tell you yes or no, it is. There's a scam we've talked about many times in that group. It's the scam where you've booked something and we want to send you a check for $5,000. If you could just cash that, take half, and then buy yourself your own costume. And what happens is, I don't know how it works because I really don't understand it, but somehow the check doesn't clear and you've just taken money out or sent them money or something. And whenever anyone is asking you to cash a check and send them money before you even do the job. Yeah. That's a scam.
Yeah, it's a classic bad check scam that's just been retargeted to actors. It's basically it.
I don't really know exactly how it works, but I do know that if anybody asks you for money up front, like no legit agent or manager makes money unless the actor books the job. Yeah. Period. End of discussion. Yeah. And no legit job is paying you half before you get started. Like that's just not a thing. Yeah. So if you book a commercial, you're going to shoot the commercial and then they're going to pay you.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes much later.
And the other thing, say what?
I said sometimes much later. That's just part of the business. But yes, that's exactly right.
Sometimes 45 days, 90 days. But the other thing is watch out for companies that are like, you know, we want you to shoot this and do all of this footage, this, that, and the other from this angle, that angle, this angle, that angle, this angle, that angle. Well, they're just going to use that footage and not pay you for it. So sometimes put a little underneath, like a little tone in there so they can't reproduce what you did and use it as actual footage to protect yourself, you know? Or don't, if someone's asking you to do something for some small amount of money and it might be a ploy just to get you to do it on camera so that they can use it for free. Yeah, right. And that's not fair either.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, interesting. So you have known many actors. You've already mentioned a few that have some longevity. As we start to kind of wind down here today, I want to talk a little bit about that longevity. I have a kind of a theory that I think you'd agree with, which is that this career as a choice is really a marathon, not a race. This is something that, you know, you can do over the course of really your entire life if you love it that much. And hey, if you really love it, maybe you don't even care if it's a career or not, and you just enjoy being on set, and so you do student films and you do little things non-union here and there, and that's fine, right? But I'm curious for actors who have taken this seriously, who might be in a major market like LA, New York, Atlanta, Albuquerque now, others, and for those actors who have been on TV for 30, 40 years, what do you think is the secret to kind of that longevity, or what do you know is the secret of that longevity, because you know these actors?
I do know them, and they don't quit.
That's it, huh?
Ever quit, and they always keep training, and they always are. They want the opportunity to perform, and they will do commercials or voiceovers or theater or film or any work they can get because they want to be able to tell stories. But years ago, sorry, 1 second. This thing is going to keep buzzing. Apologize.
It's okay. We'll do a little mark on that, Alex. That was 8:13.
Years ago, William Stanford Davis, who's on Abbott Elementary. He plays the janitor on Abbott Elementary. He was a client in a management company I owned. And we had a very small roster of clients, and he was one of them. And it was back in, like, at the beginning of his career, and he was working all the time in co-stars and guest stars in show after show after show. And he didn't get his first series regular role until he was 70.
Wow.
So I've watched his career over all of the years. And this is a man who just is in love with the craft of acting. And he loves auditioning, and he loves being a storyteller, and he loves doing his thing with it. And he booked so much stuff. And actually, when he was on Ray Donovan, he had a recurring role on that. He played a janitor. Like, another friend of mine, Michael Jai White, he's been a star for many, many years. And Mike and I went to college together. I've known Mike since his first audition for Toxic Avenger in 1987 or whatever it was. What Mike does is he works to be the best martial artist, the best actor, the best producer. He surrounds himself with the best people. And he has a work ethic that cannot be beat. You will not outwork that guy. And I think that's kind of like what I hear from all stars, or all the kinds of people that make it to the top 1%. You cannot outwork them. So if you work that hard and you're willing, like another friend of mine, Rod, I've told you, who's been a series regular twice. He's worked for 4 decades. The man will stay up till 3 a.m. working on the sides until the last minute where he has to turn it in. Like, he will go as deep as he can on the scene. After, obviously he knows who, what, where, why, when, whatever. But then he'll go deep, deep, deep into that scene emotionally until he has to turn it in.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I think actors today who don't understand the depth of talent you need to have, the depth of training you need to have, and the depth of work ethic. And you better not be a wuss. Because if you get burnt, oh, that hurt my feelings. I didn't hear back from them. And oh yeah, you never will.
Right.
Shut up. You're not going to hear back from people. The feedback is they called you back for another role in another project.
That's right.
That's the feedback, and that will always be the feedback.
Or you got booked. Or you do 100 of them, and finally you get booked on one out of 100. That's right.
You got booked, you got pinned, you got put on a veil. These are all good things. You got brought back another time for that office. You got brought back. I had an actor say to me the other day, I've been brought in like 20 times in the same office and they still haven't booked me. I mean, I wonder if they like me. I'm like, the fact that they called you back 20 times, like, what more do you need to know?
The answer is yes, they like you. You've been back there 20 times. The answer is yes. Yeah.
And that's what we talked about before, right? Is that that actors are always thinking they're never good enough. Not good enough. And yet you can't. I think the number one thing actors need to be concerned about if they're going to have longevity is stop worrying about what everyone else thinks and just focus on being great.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, maybe now's a good time to do it. We talked a little bit about how this industry is kind of in an upheaval. It's in a bit of a downturn right now with everything that's going on. Maybe now's the best time to do that, right?
I think now's a great time to do that. And I don't think people should get discouraged. I mean, every business has its ups and downs. There are still plenty of jobs out there. There's still plenty of people working. And just give yourself some grace, if there's a slow period, train some more. If you've never taken a writing class, take a writing class. If you've never done stand-up, go do some stand-up. If you've never made a film, go create a film. Go create a one-woman or one-man show. There's plenty to do.
Yeah.
Don't give up on the dream, though. You prioritize it, visualize it, manifest it, and surround yourself with people who believe in you.
And you got to have the ambition to do it too. You got to have the ambition to pull the trigger on it.
That's exactly within, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Brilliant. As we start to wrap up, please, Wendy, tell me about, I think you're an author as well. Will you tell me about the books that you have? I actually have not seen your books, and I am genuinely interested. Yes.
I actually have some right here. Hello. Yeah. This is Secrets of a Hollywood Talent Manager, and this is a book I wrote to teach actors, those baby actors we're talking about, every single thing they need to know to get in the business, like how to really create all their materials, and it's a step-by-step guide. It's really one of the best books I've ever seen, and I've read them all. I read them all, and I know what was missing in some of them too. And I also want to make it really, really easy. And then I wrote top 10 secrets. It's like literally I pared it down to 10. Here are the 10 things you need to do. You can get them both on Amazon. And if people want to train with me, I mean, there's free ways to train with me. Go watch all my videos on YouTube. They're always there. You could use the search function and look up anything you want. I've probably covered it. My free group is Talent Managers for Actors, and we will always be there to help you because we care and we want you to be successful. And I know nobody cares about your dreams more than we do. I mean, we love you, and we want you to succeed. And if you want to train with me on an ongoing basis, then you join the Hollywood Winner Circle Academy, which is a business school for actors. It's the only and ever business school for actors. And it teaches actors every single thing they need to know to be a working actor. We have all of our classes are taught by agents, managers, casting directors, and working actors. And we take the actors step by step by the hand.
Yep.
And they pay like $50 a month.
Yeah.
So I've made it so affordable. And we've had 6 Emmy Award winners now.
Wow.
We have several guests, series regulars. We have thousands of actors doing guest stars, co-stars, commercials, voiceovers. It's really amazing. And
that's fantastic. What a high it must be.
So excited by watching them succeed.
Yeah, what a high it must be. And I think that there was a TMFA event sometime earlier this year, right? I didn't quite catch it or really understand it. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Tell us a little bit about that. And is it coming back?
Yeah, I think we're going to do it next year in 2025. It's called the TMFA Live. And it's just an opportunity for actors in the TMFA to all get into one space. We rent a big place, and agents and managers come on talk on panels. But it's really a way to build momentum and relationship and get that energy and that motivation up and get some facts and get some information too. So we just love actors and we want to hug them.
Yeah, that's right. Those baby actors, give them hugs. No, that's great. And especially in like these days of like, of course, Zoom, self-tapes and Zoom callbacks. It's the thing now. I mean, a lot of actors will gripe about it. I don't particularly gripe about it, but because I still book and I know other actors book too. But I can see the value in getting people together. It's kind of a piece that's been kind of missing these last couple of years, it feels like.
Oh my God, yeah. And in fact, I want to talk about someone else's book for a minute.
Please do.
Hello, you guys, this book right here.
And for those who are those who may not be watching, this is Right for the Role by John Frank Levy.
Yeah, this is Right for the Role. And John Frank Levy, he is the casting director of Shameless.
Oh, great.
ER.
That's awesome.
And The West Wing.
Oh, wow.
And if you should ask him to be on your show, because I swear to God. But this guy, this book, if you're an actor, you must read this book, okay? Yes, you should read my books. But I want you to be successful, and there's a lot of books I want you to read.
Yeah.
But if you're an actor, this book will talk to you about starting to understand how to present yourself and be okay with who you are and that you are enough, and realizing that it's your take on the role that's going to get you booked. It's your personality, it's your essence, your energy that's going to do the job. And you need to realize that you have a superpower that you can bring in the room with you, and it's you. And so I just highly recommend this book, and I suggest all actors run out and get it.
And I love it. And also, by extension, when you don't book, it's only because you weren't right for the role, and let it go, right? I mean, let it go. I think if I looked at my booking log this year. I think I'm up to like 60 some odd auditions at this point. And you know how many I've booked? I mean, 10, you know? So like, actually, I think even less. I'm sure even less than 10. So I think the point too is for those actors out there who worry about not getting booked, it's also sort of the same concept. It's like, fine, you weren't booked. You're probably not going to book the next one you auditioned for, the one after that. But you know what? One of the ones after that, you will, because you'll be right for the role. Yeah. And along those same topics, I typically get booked for, it may not surprise you, I typically get booked on a lot of like CEO roles, a lot of businessman roles, a lot of bad guy businessman roles. And so, you know, it definitely follows for those out there who maybe are trying to get this going and get things moving. For those actors out there, our baby actors who are trying to get things moving, you haven't been booked yet. Just keep that in mind. That's gold. Understanding who you are and sort of what you can bring to that role and what shines through authentically is really important because, I mean, I was on set 2 weeks in Atlanta for a film where I played a CEO, and I was taking calls from my leadership team at my company, and the other actor goes, when I was done with the call, she goes, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a CEO." And she goes, "Well, that makes sense." And she's 100% right. So, you know, I think there's a lot of gold in what you just said. And I really want everybody to kind of think about that. So that is right for the role. And that's a friend of yours. Again, what was the name?
His name is John Frank Levy. And his book is available, you know, on Amazon and all the other things. But, you know, he teaches at HWC sometimes. I always bring in the top people because I want you to learn from the best. Yeah. And this man has been nominated for so many Emmy Awards. His shows are like mind-blowingly successful.
I mean, it kicked off Jeremy White. Jeremy White. I mean, it kicked off his role. Jeremy Alane Wright, thank you. Kicked off his role. Also an award winner now as of this year. I think it was an Emmy that he won. Fantastic. That show is incredible. So that's very cool. I will. I don't know. I will cajole him into joining this one day. Maybe I'll cajole him into joining us one day and talking about that. Because really, I mean, the perspective of a casting director, look, folks, for those out there who may not put two and two together, it's the casting directors that help influence who hires us, right? So we should be learning and listening and leading into those folks, you know, heavily.
I think that there's so much to learn from a casting director who is willing to share everything, and he's a very open book, and he talks about everything. And I think there's also a wisdom when you work with someone like me. I'm not giving you facts. Like, let me say this different. I'm not just giving you names, okay? And just like here's a random list of names. I don't know anything about them. It's wisdom that comes with the names that I give you. It's the wisdom of, not only do I know that they're great, but I know why, and I know where they've been, and I know what they teach. So it's not like you went to Yelp and wrote in, "What's a good acting class?" It's like, if I'm giving you the names of people, it's because I've vetted them and I've known them for years, and I know the results that they have. So if you're new, if you're a baby actor and you're new, I'm going to tell you, go to Howard Fine, go to Larry Moss, go to Ivana Chubbuck, go to Sherry Shaw, go to Margie Haber. Go to Matt Newton, Anthony Mindell, Joseph Perlman, Andy Matheny, James Ciccone, because these people have longevity as outstanding coaches. And you are asking an agent or manager to believe in you and put their time and energy in you without any money on the line. We're not making anything unless you book.
Yep.
And you need to be training like as if you're ready to go compete at the Olympics, like I said. And so train with the very, very best. Don't train with some person's name you got off of Yelp. That's not it.
Right. Yeah.
That's not going to get you there. So
beautiful. Well, lots of wisdom, I would say, packed in this. And I think the theme of the day is longevity. It's something that I think about a lot, and I was really happy to hear your take on it. And hear what it takes for that longevity. I think this is a marathon. This is not a race. And so for everybody out there who's listening as well, you can bank on that. This is a marathon. You may not hit your first co-star for many, many, many years. And guess what? That's okay. You know, so long as you enjoy what you're doing and you stick with it and you never quit, that's totally okay. So I think that's a really great thing to come away with.
Tom, that is so right. But also remember, this is a beautifully surprising business. I taught this actress, her and her mother did my course. She was 16 or 17 at the time, Isabella Ferreira. She'd never acted really. And she'd done some acting training. I sent her to James Ciccone. And she booked, the very first thing, she booked 3 episodes of Orange is the New Black.
Wow.
And then she booked a series regular on Love Victor for 3 seasons.
Wow.
Right out of the gate, year 1. So the magic is, if you're good and you have talent, anything can happen.
and you know the business of it so that you can make sense of the ins and outs, and you're talking to the right people and working with the right people. It sounds like that's also a through line there as well.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, thanks for all your time. We appreciate it. See you soon. Hey, Thomas here again. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. The show is better when I get to hear from you. Got a question to ask our producer? Or you got a show idea or a guest I should interview? Maybe you just want to tell me that you love or can't stay on the show. Either way, I want to hear from you. You can reach me at bigbreakpod@gmail.com, and you can find my acting profile at castingtom.com or at castingtom. Big Break Pod is created and hosted by me, Thomas M. Copeland. The show is a proud member of the Pod Populi Network. Original music by me. Find the show online at bigbreakpod.com and at bigbreakpod.